Yo, what's up, guys? This is Austin FFA here, or Luna.
What are you doing?
Just making a video.
How did you get out?
The door was unlocked.
Get up. Back downstairs. Now.
But they want to hear from me.
No, they don't. Get downstairs.
But they do. I read your comments, and I see stuff like, bring back old storytime vibes, and do your old intro again. So, no, I'm not leaving.
Get in the basement. Now.
Fine. You're a dickhead.
I don't care. Just leave.
Whatever.
Sorry about that. 14-year-old me must have snuck out of the basement again. I won't let that happen again, guys. My bad. Also, don't worry. He's the only child locked in my basement, okay? Relax. But today's story time is a good one. It's a great one. I think you'll enjoy it. If you do, leave a like on the video, and let's get into it. So today's story time all takes place when I was 16 years old. Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys. Me at 16, I was definitely not the best kid. I think you all know that by now. But 16 especially had to have been the year where I was probably the most, what's the word I'm looking for? Disobedient, or like most misbehaved. I don't know. I definitely just didn't follow a lot of rules when I was 16. And I'm not saying that like, oh, I was such a cool kid at 16. I didn't follow any rules. Honestly, I was kind of insufferable, but yeah, because I didn't really like to follow rules and because I enjoyed doing the opposite of what people told me to do, I definitely got in a little bit more trouble than I normally would. So this all starts off as a regular day back when I was 16 years old. I woke up like any other day, just extremely late in the afternoon. It was probably like 2 or 3 p.m. in the afternoon. It was summer vacation, so my sleep schedule was absolutely destroyed. I think it was like mid-July at this point. And I remember waking up extremely excited because on this day/night, I was going to see a movie with a bunch of my friends. Me and like 5 of my best friends were going to the movie theater together. After we saw the movie, we were going to be spending the night at my friend Spencer's house. His parents were out of town for the night. Now, none of our parents knew that. We didn't tell them that because, you know, we were all just mischievous teenagers. So I got up out of bed, I took a shower, played some Xbox for a little bit, just killed a few hours until it was time to go see the movie. And then like 7 o'clock rolled around and it was time to go get dropped off at the theater. So I get my mom's car. My mom drives me to the theater. I had my backpack on with all my sleeping stuff in it because I was sleeping over at Spencer's house. She drops me off at the theater at about 7:15. The movie started at 7:30. I walk into the front of the theater where they sell tickets. I meet my friends there. We go to the ticket booth. We buy tickets and we go into the theater. Now, we were seeing this movie called Paper Towns, which, you know, some of you might have seen before. It was actually like a smaller movie for that year, but I actually really liked it. I won't lie, though. It was definitely not a movie for like 5 teenage boys to be seeing together. I feel like any movie with action or explosions or something else would have made more sense at the time, but we picked this one, and it was like definitely not what some of my friends were expecting. But honestly, I really liked it. It was really good. Anyway, after the movie ends is really where this story begins. So the movie ended, and we didn't want to leave the theater yet. And the movie theater had this arcade room. And my friend's like, yo, let's go to the arcade room. We'll kick it in there for a little bit. So we did. We went to the arcade room, and we played some air hockey and other stuff. I tried to get this like stuffed animal out of the claw machine for like 10 minutes. That didn't work, and I wasted like $15. And yeah, we were just having fun in the arcade, right? And Spencer, the friend that we were supposed to be spending the night at their house, he comes over to me, and he's like, yo, I thought of something. And I feel like it'd be a really cool idea for your YouTube channel. And I was like, okay, what is it? He's like, yo, what if we spent the night here in the arcade at the movie theater? That'd be like a dope story. Now, I'm not going to lie, at this point in my life, I had never done something stupid to try and get a story time out of it. But me being 16, young and stupid, and also in need of content, I was like, you know what, Spencer? That's a good fucking idea. I didn't even think twice. I was like, yep, we're doing that. So we went and found the rest of our friends in the arcade, told them all about the plan, about what we're going to do. We're going to spend the night in the arcade in the movie theater. And literally none of them had second thoughts. All of them were like, yep, we're doing that. That sounds awesome. Now after this, we had to come up with a plan. We had to come up with a way to, you know, hide in the arcade or somewhere in the theater lobby and, you know, stay there so security doesn't see us. And then when everyone leaves the building, we can come out and enjoy our overnight at the movie theater. So we start coming up with different ideas. Spencer has the idea to try and hide in the hunting arcade machine. There was like a buck hunting machine with like 2 fake plastic guns and that like big booth that you sit in. And that was like pretty good because it had curtains. I had the idea to hide in the photo booth because that had like even bigger curtains. And no one ever really uses the photo booth at the movie theater. So I thought, you know, maybe that'd be a good spot. My other friends had different ideas. My other friends wanted to leave the arcade and go hide in one of the theaters, but I thought that was really stupid because the security definitely checked the theaters. So I didn't want to do that. And we all just had these different conflicting ideas, right? So I had the idea where I'm like, hey guys, what about this? What if we all go hide in different locations and we just like split up? Because that way, when security comes looking, if they find one of us, it'll just be one of us and not the whole group. And surprisingly, all of my friends were on board with that. Even though it sounded like a terrible idea, they were all good with it. So fast forward like 20 minutes later, the theater was going to be closing in like 5 minutes, and we decided that it's go time, it's time to go hide. I was going to hide in the arcade, Spencer was also going to hide in the arcade, and my other friends were going to go find somewhere else to hide that was hopefully not too obvious. Now, in my opinion, the arcade was perfect because the arcade was kind of like away from the front desk area and it was way harder to be spotted. It was basically like completely away from the front desk. They couldn't even see you. So like we were already kind of hidden. So hiding in there was like a double hiding spot in a way. Well, fast forward like 10 minutes later, the theater was now closed. I could hear footsteps and stuff. I was hiding in the photo booth, which was in the arcade, and Spencer was hiding in like the little arcade game buck hunting machine thing. He was sitting in there, which was like 2 machines down. So we were kind of close together, and we're just sitting there, and we hear footsteps coming, which was obviously, you know, the employees like cleaning up and probably checking for anyone. And when the footsteps got a little bit closer and I could tell that they were in the arcade, I peeked out of the curtain just a little bit to see who it was. And it was just some like 16 or 17-year-old kid, someone my age, just cleaning up popcorn off the floor and stuff, just sweeping, doing his job. So that was cool. And after like 5-10 minutes, he leaves. And then like 20 minutes later, we start hearing other footsteps. These footsteps sound more scary. And what I mean by that is you can hear like keys jingling on their belt. You can tell it's like someone that has some sort of power. So when I hear the footsteps get kind of close, I like very, very slightly peek out of the curtain and I can see that it's a security guard and he's just walking around, checking, making sure no one's in there. And this dude barely checked. When I mean like this guy barely checked, he barely checked. This guy walked into the arcade. He did like one circle, didn't open the curtains to me or Spencer's machines to see us sitting in there where like you're supposed to be in there playing. Like that would have been the first thing I did. If I was security in a movie theater, the first thing I would do was check the arcade machines that are literally big enough to hide 2 individuals. Like each machine we were sitting in had seats inside of them to sit, to take your photo or to play the game, and they both seated 2. So that would be the first place I'd check to see if anyone's hiding. But yeah, I guess he just didn't give a shit. Maybe he didn't care, and he decided to just do that one little loop and then walk out, which was good for us. It was great news for us. So after he walked away, me and Spencer kind of assumed we were in the clear, but we wanted to be extra safe and hide for like another 20, maybe 30 minutes. So Spencer hopped out of his like little area, out of the curtain of the buck hunting machine, and he came over to the photo booth and he sat down next to me and like started hiding with me. And he was like, yo, I can't believe this worked. And I was like, yeah, you're telling me. He's like, I wonder if the other guys got caught. And I was like, let's text them. So we went into this little group chat we had on Snapchat and we sent a photo of us, like a selfie. And the caption was, are y'all found? And like within the next 5 minutes, all of them snapped us back separately. First, it was my friend Justin. He replied, and it was like him in some like dark room. We didn't even know where he was. All we saw was his face because the flash was on. And the caption was, still good over here. And then our other friend snapped us back and he was fine. And all of them were good, luckily. Well, fast forward about another 30 minutes. We heard a door close and we assumed that that was the security guard leaving the theater for the night. So we thought, okay, like we're probably good to go. So we left the photo booth and we started walking around the main lobby. And let me tell you, this shit was so cool looking. The movie theater we were in was built in like the 80s. So they have all this really cool like vintage neon all over the ceiling and all over the walls. And at night when they shut the main lights off, all of the neon still stays on. So it was so cool looking. And we just felt like we were in the 80s or something. It was sick. After that, we went and found our friends. We all met up in one of the little main hallways that led to the theaters. And we were all kind of talking about our hiding spots and we were showing each other our hiding spots. And I cannot believe some of my dumbass friends didn't get caught. One of my friends hid behind the soda machines and he said he heard someone come over and get a soda. Like, how do you not get caught? And another friend of mine said he just sat in one of the theaters. He said he just sat down in one of the back rows. And like when they came in to check, they just like didn't check the back rows of the theater. They just came in, looked at the front rows and then left. So like, The fact that none of us got caught was actually mind-blowing. Looking back, it was just all luck, no skill. Like, we just all got lucky. Actually, I'm gonna take that back. Me and Spencer had good hiding spots, kind of. But the rest of my friends, they hid in some stupid spots. Anyway, after we succeeded in, not being caught, we had the whole theater to ourselves for the night. So we didn't know what we wanted to do first, because, first of all, they left the arcade machines on, which is sick. But we didn't have a lot of money, so we could only play in the arcade for maybe an hour if we were lucky. So we decided that we'd do that last, before we left the theater. But there were some other things we could do. First of all, the soda machines were still on. We could steal some Dr. Pepper. The movie theaters were all open, so we could go in there and watch nothing, because we have no idea how to work a movie projector that's probably worth $100,000. So we just decided to explore. We're like, you know what, let's just start walking around and exploring the theater, and we'll probably find something to do. So we start walking around and going through all the movie theaters that are empty, and it's really weird because when you see a movie theater, usually there's people in it and the screen's on, but seeing it with the screen off and in the dark, it was really kind of creepy. And we actually ended up walking up the stairs to one of the projector rooms that projects to one of the theaters, and near one of the projectors there was an aux cord that we didn't know what it went to, so my friend plugged it into his phone, because back then you could plug aux cords into your phone before they took it away, and he plugged it into his phone, and he hits play on a song, and the entire theater that we were in, that movie room, starts playing the song through the theater speakers, which is fucking insane. They must have had some crazy mixer setup or something that led to all of the speakers. And I don't even know why they would have this set up to begin with. Maybe it was for private screenings or something, or for a listening party of some song or something. I don't know. But all I know is that it worked, and it was crazy. Hearing a song on fucking movie theater speakers has got to be the craziest way I've ever heard a song to this day. The bass, how loud it was, the whole fucking room was shaking. It was crazy. It sounded like I was in the song. I don't know if they were IMAX speakers or what, but it sounded insane. So we listened to music in there for 30 minutes, just bumping all of our favorite songs. That was really cool. But of course, after 30 minutes, we got pretty bored, so we decided to keep moving and keep exploring. So we left that room, wrote down on our phones the theater number that room was, so we could go back and listen to more music later or something. And then we just kept exploring, and we ended up back in the main area where the food was sold and stuff. And now here's the part I'm not too proud of, but also it was kind of fun. We snuck behind the counter where they sell food and make food and stuff. And your boy may have stole some candy, okay? Just a couple boxes, all right? Maybe some Sour Patch Kids, maybe some Milk Duds, okay? Maybe, allegedly. I don't usually steal things when I explore buildings, whether they're abandoned or not. So I was a little disappointed in myself, but also, your boy was hungry, okay? Not saying that's an excuse, but I was hungry. My friends, on the other hand, they were fucking vultures. These thieves, dude. They went behind the counter, and I watched my friend steal 5 boxes of Milk Duds, and someone else was eating one of those Crunch Bar things. It was just a shit show of candy, okay? Well, then Spencer has the bright idea to try and turn on the popcorn machine. He flicks the switch on it, and this thing turns on, and I was like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm going to try making popcorn. I'm like, bro, don't do that. We're going to burn the fucking movie theater down. Do not do that. He's like, bro, I see it all the time. They just put a little bag in here and it pops. It works. I'm like, no, you don't know what you're doing. Turn the machine off. And I walked over and I shut it off because I did not trust this dude. The last thing I wanted to do was burn the fucking movie theater down. Okay. I don't care. Even if that was super irrational and not probably going to happen, I'm not taking the chance. So anyway, after this whole cafe fiasco thing, we leave that area and we keep exploring, and we end up back in the arcade, just playing games. And we end up playing games in there for a lot longer than I expected. I thought it was going to be an hour with the money we had, but we were able to make all of our cash put together last 2 hours straight. And I can't lie, having an entire arcade to just me and my friends was so fucking cool. Also, I'm cracked at those arcade racing games. I beat my friends in probably about 9 out of the 10 games we played. So yeah, I was feeling pretty good about myself. Well, after we got done playing the arcade games, we were bored. We had nothing left to do. We'd already explored the theater, checked out the theaters themselves, checked out the arcade, checked out the cafe. There wasn't a whole lot left to do. And I had $1 left. So I had an idea. I was like, yo, guys, I know it's really corny, but what if I use my last dollar to take a photo in the photo booth with all of you? Like, let's all like line up in the photo booth, take a photo together, and we'll have this memory physically for the rest of our life. Like, we can hang it up and we can all look at it and remember how awesome this night was. And all of my friends were like, dude, that's awesome. Let's do it. So we jump in the photo booth. I put in the dollar. We start taking these photos. And the way it works is it like takes like 4 or like 8 photos and you make different faces and stuff. And it prints them all out in a line. I'm sure you all have been in a photo booth before, but yeah, whatever. But we're taking these pictures. We're about halfway through, making silly faces, just like being trolls. And all of a sudden, I hear someone yell from outside the photo booth. I hear, "Hey, get out of there!" And all of my friends were in the photo booth, like crammed in there with me. So it couldn't have been any of my friends. And it sounded like an older guy. So I just already knew. I'm like, yep, that's security. And I poke my head out of the curtain, and sure enough, security is coming right at us. The same guy that patrolled the arcade earlier that night. I don't know why that security guard was back at the movie theater. I don't know if he came back to like double check. I don't know if he was there the whole time and like in an office or something. I don't know. But he was there all of a sudden, and he was coming right towards us. Now we had 2 choices. We either sit there and let him approach us and get caught and probably have the cops called and probably get in a lot of trouble with our parents. Or 2, we make a run for it. So me and all my friends looked at each other, and Spencer goes, 1, 2, 3. And he just takes off out the photo booth, and we all go running after him, like following him. And the security guard takes off behind us as well. I'm not gonna lie, guys, the security guard was kind of built like Paul Blart, okay? He didn't have the fastest running. He also wasn't, jacked up with stamina, so he wasn't very good at running for long periods of time. So we ran from one side of the theater to the other in probably about like a minute. And this security guard was like already 100 feet away from us. Like, we outran him pretty easily. So we got to the other side of the theater, and on both sides of the theater at the end, there's 2 emergency exits. So we tried to open it. It opened. I'm assuming it was just unlocked from the inside only. So it opened right up. And of course the alarm went off because it was an emergency exit. And we all just bolted out of that exit so fast and ran into the woods that was behind the movie theater. And we ran for probably about a good mile before we stopped. And when we stopped, we were on the other end of the woods in this neighborhood, just walking back to Spencer's house. And I started looking around. I was like, yo, did anyone get that photo from the photo booth before we left? And then Spencer looks at me and he's like, fuck. And I was like, oh no. And all my friends had the same reaction. We're like, dude, they have our faces. Like a clear photo of all of our faces, dude. And we all start kind of freaking out. And then I tried to like be the voice of reason. I'm like, guys, calm down. It's okay. They have security cameras in there. They would have had our faces anyway. So it's not really that big of a deal. And Spencer's like, yeah, I guess you're right. And all my other friends are like, yeah, I guess, but these are like really clear photos. And I'm like, guys, we're making stupid faces in all of them. Like, they're not that accurate of what we normally look like. And they're all like, oh yeah, I guess you're right. And we all kind of calmed down. But honestly, I can't lie. Inside, I was kind of shitting myself. Anyway, we got back to Spencer's house. His parents weren't home, so we just went into the house, went into his room, spent the rest of the night at his house into the early morning, and then we all fell asleep. And the next day we woke up, Spencer's parents got home, they made breakfast, and they asked us how our night went and what we do. And we all lied. We were like, oh, we just played games and hung out in the living room and, ate junk food. We were just full of shit, right? And they probably knew that we were full of shit and just didn't really care to ask what we actually did. But either way, the rest of that day was all normal, and the following week or 2 was fine. Really nothing out of the ordinary there. But then about 3 weeks later, okay, my mom wanted to go see a movie with me at the same theater that I had snuck into and spent the night at. And at this point, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if I was going to walk in there and security would recognize me, or like if they had my photo hanging up or something. I don't know. Maybe they called the cops and they were like looking for me. I didn't know, right? I was nervous. So my paranoid ass didn't want to get recognized by any of the staff or any of like the security. So I had my mom shave my head before I went. I told her I wanted to cut my hair because she cuts hair. And she's like, yeah, I'll do it. What do you want to do? And I was like, buzz cut. She's like, buzz cut? You have a lot of hair. Like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, 0, bald. And she's like, why? And I was like, I don't know. It's warm out. I'm getting hot every day. I don't want the hair anymore. She's like, okay. So my mom took out the clippers and buzzed my head to a fucking 0. I looked like Humpty Dumpty by the time that shit was done. I had a damn egghead. Just bald. Now, there's nothing wrong with being bald, okay? But me, it just didn't look good on me, especially at 16. I just looked really weird. But I had to do it. I was too paranoid, so I did it. And honestly, looking back, I'm so glad that I did, because me and my mom went to the movie shortly after, and when we pulled up to the theater and walked in, they had the photos that me and my friends took printed on the wall in the main lobby with a sign above it that says, "Do you know these kids? If you do, please call this number." And let me tell you, I was freaking out. I wanted my mom to not look in that direction so bad, because if she saw that, I was screwed. Because my face was right there in those photos, clear as day. And they also like scanned the photos onto like a printer or something, and they printed them even bigger. So like, yeah, I did not want her to see. It was very easy to see, and I did not want her to see it. So I kept trying to distract her. I kept like pointing in the opposite direction of where that sign was. And I was like, "Look, Mom, look at that cardboard cutout. That movie looks insane." And she's like, "Yeah, it does." And I just kept like distracting her because I did not want her to see it. But we got our tickets. We made it past like the front like clerk area. And then we got into like the main lobby where like the cafe was and stuff, in the arcade. And the security guard that chased us was there on that day. He was working. And he was over by the cafe. And my mom wanted to get popcorn. And I was like, "I'm not hungry." And she's like, "No, come on, we gotta get popcorn. Like, we're at a freaking movie. We gotta have popcorn." And I was like, "Nah, you can get it. I'm gonna go to the bathroom." She's like, "Are you okay? Is your stomach good?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. It's just a little messed up. I'll be okay." And she's like, "All right, well, if we have to leave early, like, we can." And I'm like, "Okay, thank you." So I go to the bathroom. I hide in there for like a minute. After I wash my hands and stuff, I leave. I go back to the cafe. The security guard moved. Now he was over by the arcade. So I went over to my mom while she was in line to get food. I hung out with her for a little bit. And I look over to my right, and I see the security guard at the arcade staring at me. He's like staring at me. And he's giving me this look of like, "You look familiar, but I'm not sure if you're the one that I chased out of here like a few weeks ago familiar." And I kind of like look the other way so he doesn't get a good look at my face anymore. And I just stand there with my head pointed at the menu of this cafe. And I just hope that he doesn't come over to get a better look at my face. Because if he sees my face, I'm probably screwed. And after about, I don't know, a minute or so, my mom gets her popcorn and we head to our theater. And the guy doesn't approach us. And after that, we got into our theater. We watched the movie. It was all good. I didn't get caught. Everything was all good. And we left the theater after that, out of one of the exits. And I didn't see the security guard while I was leaving, so that was good. But honestly, looking back, I think the reason the security didn't recognize me like that day was because I shaved my head. I think if he saw me on that day with my mom and I had all my hair still, he would have came over immediately and like called the cops or something, or like told my mom about what happened. But he didn't. And I attribute that to me being bald. So yeah, shaving my head was not all crazy. It definitely worked. But after I got home on this day, I jumped on Xbox and I joined my friend's Xbox party, Spencer and all the other people. And I was like, "Yo, there was a sign at the movie theater with all of our faces from the photos we took. And they're saying like, 'Do you know these kids? If so, call this number.' So do not take your parents there and do not go to that theater for a long time because you will get in trouble." And yeah, we avoided that movie theater for like 6 months. Like, we did not go for a very long time. And when we finally did go back, that sign was just completely gone from the front. And they had like new security and stuff and new staff. So I think they got like bought out or something, or maybe they just hired new people and the old people got fired. But we never had to worry about it again. They never said anything to us. The sign never went back up. And they had new staff. So I think they just kind of forgot about the incident. They probably beefed up on security though. They probably like bought an alarm system or something, because like there was no alarm when we spent the night there. But yeah, guys, moral of the story is, don't do what I did in this story. Don't do what any of us did. We were stupid and we got so lucky. But I gotta say, it makes for a great story. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Definitely a long one, definitely a crazy one. If you enjoyed it and you want more like this, more long stories, leave a like on the video. I'd really appreciate it. Feel free to leave your story times in the comments down below. And subscribe if you're new. I will see you all later. Peace.
I'm staying up and you won't take my place. I made like 30 just a week ago and I'm not